The nice thing is, you take your very expensive sander and you get your edges flat so that when you put it up against the adjacent one, they all fit together. And like I said, I'll take and I'll rotate them 45 degrees, glue them, clamp them, and work with pairs.
You painted too at that time, right?
I'm sorry?
You paint them or put the alcohol in the one you have?
I just glue them.
You didn't put that red inside, and you had to go all.
No, I did that. I did that when I was finally finished. Now, here's a pair that's been glued together, and you can see where I've smoothed out the inside using a rotary tool, and then I'd go and touch up the outside, you know, and get rid of this edge, and then come back with a random orbital sander and smooth that edge out. So it's a lot of sandpaper work. That's why I leave them about an 1/8 to 3/16, because you're taking some out of the inside, you're taking some out of the outside, and you want to be careful that you just don't burn through it as you sand them. Then as I glue them up in pairs. This one here, you can see that this first one is hollowed and the second one is partially hollowed. That was glued up as a pair. These are all solid. So, you know, when I would turn those, I would cut them. And then, as I said, on the last piece, when I turn it, instead of turning it with the mouth of the cone up, since it's solid, I turn it to leave the bulk of the base near the tenon, so that when you put it on the bandsaw, that it doesn't whip around too much and you get a cleaner cut. And then I'll go in and I'll take another section, I'll rotate it and glue it. Then I would go in and clean up that joint. Then I would take the next section.
How do you clamp them at that point?
I'm sorry?
How do you clamp them together at that point while they
I've tried a lot of different things. I've put a golf ball in the hole and try to clamp it that way. I've taken I haven't got a good way to hold them together other than in pairs. But when you use the Tide-Bond glue, you know, if you put your glue on there and you rotate it and you hold it for a little bit, it'll hold pretty well. Yeah, David.
I went to a Michael Hoswitz class, and what he said he does is mixes glue, Tide-Bond 50 water, 50 glue, and smears it on there, and then lets it dry, and then he comes back and he glues it normal and holds it, and it just dries like that.
Yeah, because you're dealing with end grain, it would that water and glue would wick down in there. That's a good idea. So anyway, once you're through, you know, you've got your shape. Again, depending on how you rotate the segments, You can either rotate it clockwise, counterclockwise. You know, if you put all of the small ends together, you'll end up with a circle that comes back onto itself. If you put them 180 degrees, it's just a straight cone. So you've got a lot of flexibility that you can go through. And the 12 degrees is a convenient one that I've used, but you know, if you you can vary that as well to come up with the spiral that you want. Then when you're through, so this was started off as a piece of a limb off of a crepe myrtle tree that I had to trim up. You turn it, you glue it. It was, the limb was so small that, you know, I couldn't put a tenon on it, so I put a small square tenon on it. Glued it onto a glue block with a tenon on it, and then repeated basically the same process as I've got here. You've got a way to hold it. And then you can decorate it any way you want to. My next intrigue that I want to try is I've got a granddaughter. These are great for granddaughters. These are truly unicorn horns. And if you've got a grandson, it's a dinosaur tooth. So you can flip it any way you want to. But I've seen where there was an article by a guy out on the West Coast. His name escapes me right now. Anyway, he took a clamshell bowl, cut it in half, glued it back together, and then he used epoxy and calcite crystals so that it looks like a geode. But if you epoxy coat the inside, you could take borax and supersaturate it in boiling water and let it crystallize inside with a little food coloring. You can have crystals growing out of the inside of it. So, you know, you can let your imagination run wild. You can decorate the outside of it with carvings, piercings if you want to. You know, if you wanted to, you could, instead of a smooth shape on the outside, you could texture the shape on the outside. And David Hollw does that with his, where they're little raised bumps.
Michael Hollw.
Yeah, Michael Hollw.
Sam, would it be a lot easier just to run down a longhorn steer and cut it off?
It depends on where you went to school. For some of us, that would be sacrilegious. Of course, I am very proud of them. They got their average grade point average up on the football team this year. Yeah, 2.9. So, you know, it's like I said, it's something to have fun with. You know, it doesn't take a lot of materials. I've turned some lately with, and we'll have for our open shop some Bradford pear pieces. That turns really nice. Not near as rough as this old elm, and. It's a lot of fun. You can just kind of leave it to your imagination how you want to finish it out. Any questions?